Amanda was a first grade teacher at Madge Griffith Elementary for 8 years and has most recently been serving as the assistant principal at Rasco Middle School in Brazosport, ISD. She graduated from the University of North Texas in 2018 with a Master of Education in Educational Leadership, and then in 2012 with a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice and a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and was also the 2021 Madge Griffith Teacher of the Year. So I am sure that I speak for all of us when I say how excited we are to learn from Amanda today.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for hopping on. I think Rebecca did a really good introduction, but yes, I taught first grade for 8 years and I am now the assistant principal at Rasco Middle School. So unfortunately did not get to use ST Math this year, but Brazosport ISD was super fortunate that throughout my whole teaching career, I pretty much used it every single year. In the chat, I'm going to go ahead and post the link to the presentation in case you guys wanted that. This is incorporating ST Math into the classroom every day, and I'm from Brazosport ISD. And so I know some of you did go ahead and start introducing yourselves in the chat. I apologize for that. But in the chat, if you want to go ahead and put like your name, your district, your grade level, your years of experience with ST Math, and then if there's anything specific that you want to learn from this session. So I think I speak from experience as well as all the other people in the chat that have been using ST Math for quite some time. It is a phenomenal program. And those of you that have just gotten it for this upcoming year, or you maybe only had it a couple years, I think you're really going to learn to love it. But we will go ahead and move on. Feel free to keep putting in the chat. If there's anything in particular you want myself or Rebecca to answer, we would gladly do that. So our agenda for today, like she said, this session is how to effectively use ST Math within your instruction to improve student achievement and academic progress. It will show you how to incorporate the program into everyday instruction. And then at the end, we're also going to highlight some of the popular and unique features. So first, we'll talk about how to align your ST Math instruction, and then using ST Math to guide your lessons or your reteach, some ST Math features, and then we will have time for questions at the end as well. But if you have them throughout, like she said, put them in either chat. And so where does it fit? And so these are actually two images from Brazosport ISD. This puzzle piece right here is just like the 4 components of math. And so you can fit it into your daily number talks and facts fluency. It can be a huge component of your guided math. I know a lot of districts have either made the switch to guided math or they're in the process of that. And so within guided math, it can actually go into a formative assessment. It can go into a warm-up. And then, like I said, it could be a big option within math workshop. And so again, where does it fit? So time spent on ST Math is time spent learning. This is the recommended usage time for each grade level. In the classroom, I was a first grade teacher, and so it was recommended that my kids were on there for an hour a week, with the result of within that hour, they should have done 25 to 65 puzzles. I found that giving them an hour in a week, generally they did way more puzzles than that even. And they were very successful in getting through the puzzles and learning the content. And so using ST Math within stations, so again, within that guided math rotation, you can assign different objectives for students to work on. They do not have to do ST Math in the journey assignments. So ST Math has like a set curriculum per se that they would go through in that order, but you can go in and say in first grade you're working on time and you want them to work on time, or your last unit you worked on measurement, so you want to do that as a review. You can go in and assign different objectives per student or per class. And so there is a video that we're going to watch that's going to walk you through how to assign specific ST Math objectives. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how to assign specific objectives to your class, and this can be done either you assign the objective to the entire class or to 1 or 2 students in particular. So from your home screen, this is what it's going to look like when you log in. You'll go over here and click the curriculum tab, all learning objectives. And then here, so I teach first grade, but I could go back and assign a kindergarten objective if I felt that that was necessary. Or I could even go down here and assign a second grade objective for some of my higher learners. So, but for this video, we're going to go ahead and find a first grade objective and say we're working on measurement. So I would click measurement, go ahead and click right here, and it pops up to what this is. If you would like to sample it, you can click play this objective, or if you would like to assign it, you can assign. Now, sometimes you might forget what all is involved in this. And so if you click right here at the game, it gives you a little picture of what each game is, as well as how many levels are in that game. You can click the level and play it, but we're not going to do that for this time. But if you go back here, right here, it says assign objective. So I'm going to click assign, and then you can either click your entire class, or you can assign it to individual students. So if I click this, then it's going to pop up with your roster, and you can check which students. So all of mine completed it this year, but if you had several that maybe didn't complete it, or if you want them to do it again, you could just check specific names, or say you're going to do it to the entire class, and then you would go over here and hit assign. And at any time, if you wanted to check what was in your assignments, so from your class, from the home screen, if you click on your class and you click objectives and then assignments, you can actually go in and view what all is assigned for both the class as well as for individuals. And it'll show you how many students have completed each one. And if you click this, it can then show you which one of my students has not done that. And then you can move them up or down in the list if you want them to complete them in a specific order. And then this, if you toggle it back and forth, when your students log on, they will then, if you allow student choice, they'll get to choose which objective to work on. Or if you turn it off, then they have to work on the assignments in the activity or in the order that you put them in. But that is how you assign objectives in ST Math. Did anybody have any questions over the assigning the objectives video?
There was just one that came up in the chat that I think I answered, just talking about if there's a suggested amount of time needed to complete the objective. I just typed that the recommendations that we give are for minutes and puzzles for the week, and objectives are large. So you can plan on your students taking, Amanda, what would you say, sometimes several weeks to complete an objective because of the number of games and levels and puzzles that are within that objective.
Yes, it really depends on not only the objective, but also the student. Some of those objectives are really short and they'll finish them within that hour in the week. Some of them are much, much, much longer. I think the one that I used as the example had, 2 to 5 games per level. Some of those have 10 levels with 8 games. They're huge. And then it also really depends on the student themselves, because you guys know your kids, you know which ones are going to pretty speed through that pretty fast, and then which ones are really going to struggle. And that's what is really unique about being able to assign the different objectives, is if you have some of those struggling learners that need to go back and complete the previous grade level, they can still work on the same TEKS, but at a kindergarten level or a second grade level, or if you're, say, a third grade teacher, they can work on fourth grade. And so it's a really unique thing that they can be in their guided math station working on the same TEK, but really at their own level and at their own pace. And so you can also go in and assign bonus levels and fact fluency. And so I know back in the guided math little circle, one of them was warm up fact fluency. And one of my favorite things to watch my kids do is the addition and subtraction facts optional level. Generally, it would be about December that I would go ahead and assign it and just go ahead and leave it in their assignments. This is one that is huge. Like, it'll pretty much take them the rest of the year if they do a few minutes every day on it. And that's just helping them memorize those addition and subtraction facts to mastery and to be able to do them real quick. And then you'll also, if you scroll to the bottom of your assignments, have bonus journeys. And so this one here on the left, these are your options for first grade. Again, you can do kinder, you can do any grade level. But you can assign them a challenge, 2 different challenges. I would actually do the equal shares and partitioning when we would do our fractions, because it goes right along with that. And then 2-digit number words. I know we're from all districts all over Texas, but where I'm at, from about middle of the year on, our students were required to read their assessments on their own. And so helping them be able to read those number words was really beneficial. And then this one on this side is actually the optional ones for third grade. So that's when your multiplication and division fact level will come in that you can use for fact fluency, but then they also have all of these other bonus journeys. And so some grade levels have a few, some grade levels have a lot. It really just depends. And so that's something that you can definitely use within center time or to challenge those higher level learners. Student view of assignments. And so when the students log in, Gigi's on his little platform. If they click right here, it will take them on the pre-assigned journey. If they click the little house icon, is what I told my kids, it takes them to their own house, and then they're just for them assignments. And so this is where they will find their individual work. And once they click there, if you have more than one listed, this is what it will look like. If they're both white like this, then the students could click on either one. If you have them in a set order where they can't have, I guess, student choice was the toggle, then the top one will be white, and then these ones will be grayed out, and they can't click these until that top one is done. And so you really can dictate exactly what lesson they're working on, or like in this case, they're going to work on shapes, but they get to choose which shape level. Using ST Math to guide reteach, because again, if they're out there in their centers, they're working on this, you're using it as a warm-up, you want that data, right? Like you want to be able to see what they're doing. And so ST Math has integrated a lot of assessment features that you can use to guide your reteach or your small group lessons. This is an example of performance data broken down by TEK. So if you look at the top here, it has the TEKs listed. So say for 1.5D, this is where they were all at. And so you can see like where this is just their progress. I'm going to show you in just a second the one I prefer that I think is a little bit better. But this shows you like which students have completed all the levels on that TEK and which ones are not quite there. So as you can see, because I took this data at the end of last school year when I screenshot this. So most of them had finished it, but then you see the ones that were struggling and that were falling behind. And that right there, you know, for 1.5D, well, here's the kids that I might want to pull for that. I prefer to use this one. So this one has integrated a lot of, again, assessment features, but this one has your alerts broken down by TEK based on how many times they got stuck. So what that means, we're going to watch another video here in a second, but say for 1.3B, if you go back here, well, so many of these kids, they say they're at 100%. So you're like, oh, they mastered it, right? They did good. But this is how many times they got stuck on that level. So that means that they lost too many GGs, they had to restart. And so that right there would help show you a little bit better which ones you need to pull to work on that specific skill at your small group table. And so we're going to watch another video. So one of the good things about ST Math is that you can actually use it to help guide your reteach in small group time for either intervention or enrichment. And so when you click on your class and you go right here to the standards tab, it actually will break it down by TEKs. You can click the little arrows and it opens it up, and it'll show you what these kids score on each TEK, as well as you can then pinpoint your struggling students on each TEK, and you can start drafting your small groups based on who needs that specific skill. So maybe for TEK 1.5A, well, here's 3 kids I could pull right here. Same thing with 1.5B, 1.5C. That could be my small group reteach. And so you can actually click the arrows over, and it'll show you for each one what your students need and what they scored in that area. And so you get to kind of see which ones need the reteach, which ones need the extra help. And so obviously with it being the end of the year, a lot of this is green, but it does change colors. If you're second grade and up, you would have pre-quiz scores as well as post-quiz scores, again, broken down by specific TEK, which would help you. And then you would also have alerts right here. And so this one, I feel like is actually a better predictor, because if you open it up by TEK, it'll show you which kids experience trouble with that level. So if you go back here to the objective progress, yes, they might be at 100% progress, but if they experience trouble along the way, then that would be the group you would want to pull. And so if I'm looking here at, say, 1.5D, well, here, these three kids experienced trouble at it. Same with 1.5S. I might want to pull these ones. And as we go across, you'll see some of them actually, if they have 3 or more alerts, wound up red. And so this would show me too that maybe number operations is something that my class as a whole is weaker at. And that would be something for maybe whole group reteach. And then as well as we get over here, again, this builds your small groups for each specific teak and skill. So that is how you would look at it. So again, from the home page, you would click right here, standards. And for second grade and up, the pre and post quizzes are excellent data for you to be able to have.
I was posting that I really love the history of alerts because it's really great to see where your students have struggled, because there's a big difference between a student who passed, zoomed through a level with no alerts and a student who got an alert on every single level that they played. That's really great information for you as a teacher. So I'm so glad that you highlighted that, Amanda.
Yes, and thank you for posting in the chat. So I actually didn't know this, but the alert comes up if they have been unsuccessful to pass a level 10 or more times.
Yep.
And so you'll notice as your students are playing, next to their little GG bar, it'll start having dots. And that tells you how many times that they've been on that level and they've had to redo it. And so for them to get an alert over here, Rebecca says it's 10 or more times.
Yeah, and that's kind of what our research has shown kind of might indicate that your student, and every student is different and you'll know your students better, but that's kind of like a guidepost of kind of when your students might be moving from that productive struggle to feeling a little more frustrated. So it's just a great way for you to know where they might be at and how much support to give them. So like if you have a student who comes up to you and says, I don't know how to do this, I need help, and they have only tried one time, you can feel pretty successful in saying like, why don't you go back and try it again? Or, what have you tried? Whereas if you have a student who comes up and they've got, like Amanda mentioned, that row full of dots, okay, I might need to give the student some more support because they might be getting frustrated with this. And then looking historically, it's great to see because they might have resolved that alert and figured it out by the time you, have a chance to look at your data. But the history of alerts can help oh, they really struggled with this, but they got it in the end. But I may want to do some additional kind of checking to make sure that they understand what they were able to do.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Rebecca, because the alerts, that was my best friend as a teacher. I would go in there and see who got the alerts on which levels, because it really does help pinpoint. And you can obviously compare that to in-class assessments and kind of see like which specific skills. And so this is one of my favorite parts of this presentation. I know each year that I've done it, a lot of teachers, they don't realize all the features that ST Math has. And so if you click this link right here, it actually takes you to what's called the ST Math help page. And when I tell you that ST Math literally has provided you with everything you will ever possibly need, it is hands down amazing. And so you have frequently asked questions, you can manage curriculum, ST Math data, but one of my favorite things is the printables. Here's, exciting ways to extend it with puzzle talks, math chat. So that's all of that math warm-up stuff, technical issues. And then recently they've added the homeschool option. My nieces are in a school district that does not have Killeen ISD. And so they've actually been working on this summer. So again, if you have your own kiddos, it is absolutely amazing. But the resources and printables is where I want to take you for today. All of this stuff, we'll go back up and we'll explore some of it, but all of this stuff is totally available to you on here, free, you can print. And so monitoring and supporting students, you have the problem solving process, you have all this stuff that you can print off. So I see, I think, I try, I learn, I know. That's a bookmark. You can put, it's a coloring page. You can have GG coloring pages. Some amazing stuff. Let me get you to the mats though. So you can have number lines that you can print and laminate, 5 frames, hundreds charts. And then there's actually, so here's 10 frames, another hundreds chart. And you can print these off and laminate them, and the kids can use their manipulatives. If you're some of the littler ones, they can physically touch and see all the stuff that is on their screen. You have suggested manipulatives for each grade level. So again, I taught first. So if we click that, it'll tell you, you know, some of these things I never thought of as a teacher. And this gives you so many different options that maybe it's not working for one student, and so you try something else. And the game mats, my kids love. So these look just like how they look on their screen. And they could go in here and physically touch the boxes. They could put manipulatives on the squares. I actually laminated them, and then they could use their dry erase markers on them. And so their paper in front of them mirrored what was on their screen, and it made it very hands-on. You also have the Pie Monster ones. So again, this is a lesson that it would take the kids a little bit longer. I think those of you that teach first, second, that have seen this level, the kids at first are like, what do I do? And they get very confused when it's going between the little conveyor belt and down here and the little pie monster. But them being able to go on, I did the little colored bingo chips, and they could go and put their colored chips in here to match their screen and physically move them. It made it the transition to putting it on the computer much swifter for them. I see a bunch popping up in the chat.
I think everyone's just saying how much they love the game mats and the resources that you're sharing. So that's great.
Yes, I think unless you've sat down and like dug through it, you don't know what all is here. And so again, more game mats that I love, the ones that match the screen, if that makes sense. And so we'll go back. You have puzzle talks, schedules and stations that you can use, activity pages, special projects. You'll go all the way down. And then at the end of the year, when you're ready to print certificates for those that have mastered their ST Math all year, they've made it to their 100%. The certificates are here. You don't have to come up with them or try to find them. You just pre-fill it, print it, you are good to go. And then here's pre-K ones. You can have certificate of completion and then just participation for those that tried their absolute best but didn't quite make it to their 100%. You can do top 5 posters. And so when we were virtual during COVID, I was challenging my kids every single week, and I would use these top 5 posters for the kiddos and then post that on our little virtual page for their parents to see. And so it was always a competition for them of who could get on the top 5 page for the week. And so that's something that's super cute. You have progress posters for your 2nd grade and up, your quiz recording and tracking. And so they can put in here their pre and post quiz scores. There's boxes to work out their stuff, objectives trackers. So we'll open one of them up for you to see. So your kiddos can put the score they got for their pre-quiz, the date they took it, and then their score for their post-quiz and the date they took it. And so I know, going back to that question where someone was asking how long for each objective, this would be not only a way to track their score, but also how long it took them to complete it. And this allows the students that independence of tracking their own data as well. And then for the littles, they can just kind of track their objectives when they started and finished. And this actually goes all the way through 8th grade. So the how are you doing little poster, again, I had laminated up. And so if they were in their station and I kind of looked over and it looked like they were either struggling or had questions, they could hold up, there was little colors over there. They could hold up the little color. And then persevering in problem solving. So this is something that the older grade levels, what they learned in previous levels, what they've already tried, something I learned from the feedback, and then what they're going to try next. And then here's what helped. And so that's, they really can reflect on the journey to get through their puzzle. Like, how did they work out the problem? There's GG coloring sheets if you just need a little fun activity. Tickets to GG, there's Spanish resources, walkthrough forms. There's so much in here. There's holiday stuff in here, which they can color GG at Halloween, at Christmas. There's actually a winter break coloring page, and they can put on there too how much time they spent on GG, Valentine's Day. And so I really encourage everybody to go through here and really explore the resources available to you before you go and find your own or print your own, because there's already so much that they've provided to you for free that you can print, laminate, use, send to parents, all the things. And so did anybody have any questions?
No questions. Everyone is just marveling at all of these great resources that you're sharing. So that's great.
Awesome.
I tried to put links to as many of the things that you were pulling up. And then I did also note in there that everything on the help site is searchable. So you can always go up and type what you're looking for. Even if you get close to what the name of it is, you can usually find it. So yeah.
Yes. I love it. And the postcards that they email you when your class gets a certain percentage are also here. There was one more, the journal pages. If your kids have a math journal, you can print these out, put them in their journals. They can cut and glue them in there, however you want to work your journals. But they're actually the ST Math journal pages. And so what some of these look like, they can put what objective they're working on in that particular game. What did they learn? A GG game, or this GG game is just like what we learned in class, and then how do they relate the GG game to what they learned and make that connection. And then also a puzzle they missed on their first try, and then they have to tell you like what didn't work, how they figured it out, and then what did work. And so again, these are, you're incorporating that writing in with that math, you keep it in their journals, and then they can go back and reflect on it, and it ties into what you're learning in the classroom. And so this, oh no, this was our time for Q&A. Feel free to put a question in the chat, just unmute yourself, yell them out. Does anybody have any questions? Again, all of the videos and the links are in the presentation that you should have access to.
And Sandra mentioned, if you're familiar with our postcards, they're in development and they will be ready in early August. If you're not familiar with them, I would encourage you to come back and check those out, because those postcards are so fun and students love those. GG travels all over the world, and it's a really great way to kind of incorporate GG into other areas. So great.
And with the postcards too, I know I would, as soon as I'd get them, I'd go ahead and display them on the board and show the kids like, look, all your percentage, you made GG get to Africa this time. You know, keep working and let's see where he's going to travel to next. And so it kind of motivates them to keep up their progress, because they want to see where's GG coming right now.
So Judy wants to know, do you have a dedicated ST Math time for your whole class? Judy, tell me if I'm phrasing this correctly, or do you do ST Math during your stations?
So that one would really depend on the unit we're working on. Some of the units, the ST Math journeys are super, super long. And so we might do 10-15 minutes as a whole class as like a warm-up. But then generally it would be during that station time. So I could go in and assign the specific assignments per student. It really just depends on the lesson. And again, the fact fluency, we would have a designated, you know, hey, everyone get your Chromebooks. You're going to do 10 minutes of addition facts. And again, they're working at their own pace during that time, but it would be everybody at once. And then the next one, the puzzle goal progress versus journey progress. So I guess the puzzle goal progress is how many puzzles they've completed that week. So ST Math recommends, I think it was 35 to 65 or 85. The journey progress is that percentage. So how much of the program do they have done?
So this is actually a brand new thing that we're all wrapping our heads around, and Sandra just posted an article that I think will provide some clarification to
Okay, perfect.
anyone else who wants to know, because yes, the idea of puzzle goal progress versus journey progress is brand new, and I'm still wrapping my head around it too. Sandra, you posted that link. Let me know if there's anything that you want to add to help us understand that a little bit better.
I posted the link because I'm still learning. But it
right in the
does
same
go
place
to,
as me.
we set a puzzle goal for different grade levels. And so have they reached that goal? And Amanda, think about this when we used to go back and forth and teachers would say, oh, they finished 100%, but they only finished at like 80% in actuality because they hadn't actually done all of it. They had just reached that goal for that grade level. And so finishing the actual journey of doing all of the content that's in that grade level, not just, hey, do this and you should be set up for success.
And I think it has to do with teachers sometimes do assignments on different grade levels, and they're creating assignments. So there's a goal of, say, 2,200 puzzles. So that's in this grade level, we would expect a student to complete 2,200 puzzles. That might come from different grade levels or different areas, but the actual journey progress is their grade level journey. How much of that journey have they completed?
Thanks, Allison and Sandra. Yeah, so just differentiating between what students are playing as far as puzzles versus how much of their actual grade level they're completing. Since we all know that our main goal is to try to teach students on grade level. So that article gives more information, and we'll be adding more, I think, about that as we get closer to the school year and we all start wrapping our heads around it even more.
Yes, that's perfect. And also, if you're assigning objectives not in their assigned grade level, it does not go towards their journey progress. So they're doing the puzzles, but not getting that percentage credit. And so that
but it will go towards their puzzle progress. So they're still
yes,
getting
it'll go towards their puzzles. So
Yeah.
it really depends, I think, per student on which progress you're looking at.
And I think that's another great thing about, offering as many different metrics as we can, because different metrics are going to be motivating and also work for different students depending on their situations. So yeah, thank you so much for attending. Thank you for your time. Let us know what other questions you have. Amanda, thank you so much. That was such a wealth of information that you provided.